Okay, here. So we are in ecosystems. So what we have to understand is that the main source of energy in most of our ecosystems is the sun. And that doesn't hold true for all of our ecosystems, but without the sun, it would take not that long for the ecosystems to actually start collapsing and dying out. Now, it's not an immediate thing. It's not, the sun winks out and everything starts dying, but it would be slow, painful, torturous, as the plants slowly died, which means the next level would start running out of food and so on. So, but not all ecosystems run off of sunlight. There are certain areas that actually don't run off of sunlight, and those mostly run off of chemicals or even heat. Now, if chemicals are used, we call it chemosynthesis because we're using chemicals to make food, and obviously with sunlight we know that that is photosynthesis. So this chemosynthesis, probably the best example is in the deep ocean where none of the sunlight actually reaches. Okay, so our energy moves from organism to organism through what we call feeding relationships. Okay, and these feeding relationships start with the organism that changes our energy that's coming in, and we're mostly looking at the sun, into that usable form for the ecosystem. So that's what we're going to be looking at, is these different types of organisms, and then we're going to kind of put it all together here in a handout that you guys will have. So looking at the types of organisms that we have, the first type that we have are the producers or the autotrophs. These guys make their own food from a combination of inorganic substances and sunlight. Now their job is to produce, hence the name, all of the food in the ecosystem. And if they don't produce all of the food in the ecosystem, we won't get our energy flowing through the ecosystem, because basically what they are doing is they are changing our light energy into a form that can be used, and we call that food. So we know that process, that when we use sunlight, is called photosynthesis. And again, that process is converting light energy into a usable form, like in green plants or even algae. So that green color is actually crucially important for this. Our second type of organism that we have are the consumers or heterotrophs. And these are organisms that feed on the organic material of other organisms. So they're not actually using sunlight directly. Now they are obtaining the energy from the sun, but they do that by eating other organisms. Now we can also classify our heterotrophs based on where they are. In other words, what they actually eat. So let's go through these. So the first type we have is an herbivore. And an herbivore is a primary consumer. This one with kind of the degree sign means primary. They only eat plants. In other words, they only eat autotrophs. And examples of this would be rabbits, goats, and giraffes. The second type of heterotroph that we have are the carnivores. And carnivores are what we call secondary, that's what the two with the degree sign mean, is secondary consumers. These eat other herbivores and other carnivores. So they're not eating any producers. That's the key. They only eat herbivores or other carnivores or omnivores, or they're not eating, what they're not eating are the producers. So an example of this would be tigers, wolves, and sharks. The third type of heterotroph that we have are the omnivores. And these guys eat both autotrophs as well as other types of heterotrophs. So they can eat carnivores, they can eat herbivores, they can eat other omnivores, and this would include things like humans, bears, or even mice. Because if you think about humans, most of us eat a combination of both plant-based food and animal-based food. That makes us an omnivore. The last kind of heterotroph that we want to look at are the decomposers. And their job is to break down dead organic matter into soil for plants to use. So they're taking things that have died and they recycle the matter. They don't recycle the energy. Okay, this is bacteria as well as fungi. And these guys are critical in the cycling of nitrogen that we will take a look at here in a minute.